Good evening.
I'm going to go down here a little bit. Can you see? No, I can't see the screen. You got young eyes. You probably.
Just moving a little slower. I'm gonna try and see if I can get it a little straighter. Good evening. I'm Dina Holiday Ingram, and I am with Fulton County Schools. It's a pleasure to be able to provide some information to you this evening on what SPLOST is. I have to admit, I relocated here from Florida about a year ago, and so when I heard it, I was like, how do you, please say the letter so I can actually pronounce it correctly, because I was saying splash. But it's actually the Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. And it has been in existence in Fulton County since 1997. The first splash was passed in 1996, with the first penny tax being issued in 1997. I'm sorry, I forgot one other thing. So again, SPLOST is just a penny sales tax that everyone who spends money in Fulton County or the city of Atlanta pays and contributes to help us with capital improvement of our schools, as well as reduction of local debt. This will be the fourth splash on the ballot. The first one again was in 1997, and what Fulton County Schools did with the first splash, we used it to build 17 new schools and also do 12 additions. The second splash was used to provide 10 new schools and 6 additions, and then our current splash, actually, the third splash is for 10 new schools and 10 additions. And when we look at the current splash that we're operating under now, that expires on June 30th, 2012, it has funded 5 new elementary schools, Oakley, Cliftondale, and Fellwood being among the 5. The middle school that you see there, while it was not actually a totally new building, there were so many substantial renovations to it, it's practically a new building. And then it also is funded 4 high schools. Westlake and Banneker replacement will be opening in the fall of this year. Other items that were funded by SPLOST 3 include, as I mentioned, the building additions, facilities, renovations. A considerable amount of it has been was used for that, about $120 million. But when you consider we have 15 million square feet of property and facilities, that goes very far with that. Also, we've used it for technology, a lot of it to buy laptops for teachers and also upgrade our hardware. School furniture and equipment replacement, desks, cafeteria tables, media center circulation desks, surveillance systems, improving those in our schools to be able to improve our safety and security at our schools, and also fleet replacement. While we do, maintain our buses within state requirements, there's often a need to replace the buses, even with the most care to their maintenance. And then finally, again, is for debt service. For new construction prior to 1997, because since 1997 we've been using SPLOST, but the debt we incurred prior to 1997, we are able to use SPLOST to fund and make installment payments on that. And the debt for those prior existing, or the new constructions prior to 1997, those should be paid off in 2021. So what would SPLOST 4 be for? In the past, we've really focused on building new schools and focusing on new facilities. And with SPLOST 4, we're going to be focusing on basically renewal of the buildings that we have, focusing on our current community schools and renewing those to ensure that they are maintained in proper standards, and also some replacements. About 71% of the budget you'll see for projected budget for SPLOST 4 will go to renovations, renewals, and replacements. And another considerable component of SPLOST 4 is improving our technology considerably. In trying to determine where best to use the monies that will come from SPLOST 4, the district completed or had an assessment conducted of all of our facilities within Fulton County Schools to determine what condition they were in, and rating them on good, fair, or poor condition. And you'll see there that our current facilities have deficiencies of about $4 million. And this graph here shows the breakdown of that $4 million. When we look at this bar chart, if we talk about forecasted capital renewal over the next 5 years for this SPLOST 4, the bars show what the capital needs would be each year to maintain our current facilities in the condition that they're in or improve them. And the line shows you that the conditions will deteriorate if we do not maintain them and use capital to improve them over the next 5 years during the period of this SPLOST program. And these represent the conditions of the business. So you'll notice now we're kind of in the middle of good and fair, but in order to maintain that condition, we really need to have additional capital funding to be able to maintain our buildings so that we don't end up in 2022 with most of them in poor condition. So the penny sales tax will be able to help us ensure that we renew our current facilities and maintain them in proper conditions. Also, their recommendations in the projected budget include school replacement, and you'll see the 4 schools: Gillette Elementary, Esther Jackson Elementary, McNair Middle School, and Hers Ferry Elementary Schools. And then there would be a decommission of these 4 schools, and they would be replaced with 2 new elementary schools within the area. And those schools are College Park, Harriet Tubman, Mount Olive, and Oak Knoll. When we look at this opportunity for redevelopment of our schools, and by decommissioning these 2 schools, it was a part of the assessment of the buildings to determine what their conditions are. These buildings were really designed for a different educational era. The building specifications now that exist, in order to get those buildings to that level of specification required, it would take a considerable contribution to that. So when looking at it from what's most effective and what would actually move it along to the 21st century, we're looking at decommissioning those 4 schools and replacing them with 2 elementary schools. In addition to the needs of renewal and replacement, our projected enrollment is expected to grow from 92,000 right now to about 100,000 by the end of this 5-year SPLOST period. Each SPLOST is for 5 years, so by the end of this in 2017, we think our projected enrollment will be at that point 100,000 students. So again, we'll need to have facilities to accommodate them. Capital needs based on enrollment. This slide basically kind of shows by region where we are, as it relates to overcrowding. Existing, you'll see whether or not there's existing overcrowding. If you notice in the projected overcrowding column, yes, 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 all the way down. And then those indicate the needs that will accommodate that overcrowding. This is a summary of the information that we've just shared regarding capacity and condition adequacy, just on one slide to show you where the new schools will be, where the replacement schools will be, and where the new school equivalents will be when we talked about replacing the 4 schools, McNair being one of them. Those will be the new school equivalent as it relates to the classrooms. School renovations by category, and also broken down by area. When we look at the 3 areas,